at the age of 15, something within the church happened. It was a traumatic experience that left me blaming myself. I couldn't trust myself anymore. I found my validation from external factors from other people, little hits of dopamine that told me that I was enough. I fell in love and married a covert narcissistic man who was diagnosed and as a pathological liar, which is very hard to do. And so life started to get very bleak. I started having suicidal ideations, and not because I wanted to end my life, I just couldn't continue down the same path. And then God spoke to me. He told me that this is not the end, this is the beginning. And I went to him with more power and more courage than I have in my entire life and told him that it was time for us to end things. And as the wave bowls started humming, the vibration went through my body and I felt just so much lighter. The tears were pouring. I released a lot, got inspired. GurrL Power Coaching said, well done, but this is just the beginning of your journey. You're not only going to heal yourself, you're going to inspire others.
She spent years taking care of everyone else, always the helper, always the one that people relied on. But the moment her life fell apart was the moment that she finally found herself. Growing up in a Christian family, Victoria Gurr learned early on that being a good girl meant staying quiet, being supportive, and never making waves. But after 2 emotionally abusive marriages and a lifetime of people-pleasing, something inside of her finally snapped. She realized that she had been living as a supporting character in everyone else's story, and that breaking point led her on a journey of reclaiming her voice, trusting her inner truth, and choosing herself first. Today, through GurrL Power Coaching, she helps women step into their strength and rewrite their lives from the inside out. In this episode, you'll hear how she broke free and how you can as well. I'm your host, David Trotter. Welcome to the Awaken Magazine podcast. Victoria, it's great to be with you today. Thanks for taking time to connect with us.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
One of the things that we love to hear about our guests is their own journey of awakening to consciousness, mindfulness, spirituality. And if you wouldn't mind, take us back to your childhood. Did you grow up with some sort of spirituality or faith experience, or did that come later in life?
Yeah, so I grew up in a non-denominational Christian household. We were heavily committed in the church. My mom was the piano player, taught the bell choir. My dad was a deacon on the board. And as a child, I was innocent, full of life, full of hope. I had a great relationship with God. And then at the age of 15, something within the church happened. It was a traumatic experience that left me blaming myself and internalizing what happened to me. The shift went from the pastor's son to me. And the pastor said, and these words rang through for years into my adulthood, boys will be boys. Look at Victoria. Can you blame him? And that's where I took it and internalized that it was my fault for what had happened to me. I couldn't trust myself anymore. I didn't love myself. I didn't feel I was worthy of love. And I turned my back to God, any kind of spirituality, and went into people-pleasing into life. I found my self-worth, validation from external factors from other people. For someone saying, you're such a great friend. Thank you so much. I don't know what I'd do without you. All of those were little hits of dopamine that told me that I was enough, that I was worthy. But it also left me depleted. It ended up where I fell in love and married a covert narcissistic man who was diagnosed and as a pathological liar, which is very hard to do. And I'd always told myself that I'd only be married one time. So no matter how many affairs, the lying, the manipulation, I kept going back because I'm like, I'm only going to get married one time. We're going to make this work. And I went to the far options of leaving my family, abandoning my life, and going on the run with him to Costa Rica. While I was there, I also found God again. And God used my neighbor to speak through him to show me that it was time to go home. It was time to pick up the pieces and reshape my life. So from there, I started a relationship with God again. And I had that relationship, but I really wasn't ready to let go of the control. I still wanted to control my life. I still wanted to have everything happened the way I wanted it to happen. So instead of dealing with the problems, instead of dealing with the pain, I gave God all the conditions of what I wanted my life to look like, which of course we know God laughs. And I pushed all my trauma to the back of my mind, was like, no, I'm just going to pretend it didn't happen and keep moving forward. Well, it manifested in my next marriage. I ended up with a covert narcissist. And he was so angry and blamed everyone around him for what was going on, that he would use me as his punching bag. He was a chef, so he would come in really late at night from working, and he would wake me up out of a dead sleep screaming at me because he was so upset about his day and how it went. It had nothing to do with me, but I was that outlet for him. And so life started to get very bleak. And I started to tell myself the story that I'm a supporting character in everyone else's happily ever after. And at that point, I had become so weighed down with depression, with anxiety, feeling like my life was stuck. And I started having suicidal ideations. And not because I wanted to end my life, I just couldn't continue down the same path. I couldn't continue living the way I was living. And then God spoke to me. He told me that this is not the end. This is the beginning. If I put myself first, if I pour my love inward and start working on myself, things will fall into place. But the first step is leaving your husband. So I took that strength and I went to him with more power and more courage than I have in my entire life and told him that it was time for us to end things and it was time for me to start a new chapter in my life. He begged, he pleaded, promised the world. But this is the first time that I had made that boundary and I honored it. Just gave me that empowerment, that strength to keep moving forward. From there, I had been doing traditional therapy talk, but it was just really scratching the surface. So I was still dealing with a lot of depression, a lot of anxiety, just trying to get through my day, oversharing my story with everyone. And not realizing in that moment while I'm sharing it, I'm reliving my trauma over and over again. Anybody that listened to me, I'm like, let me tell you the wild story I've been through. And from there, a friend of mine who was also going through a divorce decided to go have a little road trip through Florida, have a little fun girls trip. We needed something bright and light to do, so we were excited about it. And on our way from Tampa to Delray, I lived in Delray with my ex-husband, and so that's like my second home. I love going back there. And in that trip, I not only reclaimed and took my power back from that area and created great memories so I could cherish that beautiful sacred area, but my anxiety manifested in a way it had never manifested before. It was almost like a bipolar person going through a manic episode, just extreme highs. I couldn't stop talking. And I was talking 500 miles a minute. And all my friends are like, what is going on with you? This isn't like you. And I'm like, I don't know. Do you know anyone that does healing and grounding work? And I didn't know what it meant in the moment, but I started asking anyone that I came into contact with. And finally, a good friend of mine was like, actually, my neighbor Lacey is a healer and she does grounding work. And I'm like, awesome. So we met the next day on sacred Indian ground. That's now a park right on the ocean. And as the wave bowls started humming, the vibration went through my body and I felt just so much lighter. The tears were pouring. I released a lot. And in that moment, that's when God inspired Girl Power Coaching. Said, well done, but this is just the beginning of your journey. You're not only going to heal yourself, you're going to inspire others to leave their toxic relationships, to leave the trauma behind and live a life that's not defined by what they went through, but who He created them to be. And there I started tapping into more to meditation, to journaling. Yoga Nidra has been a huge part of my healing journey. Crystals. There was a time when my sister would give me crystals. I'm like, okay, thank you for this rock. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with this, but I'm going to place it here. But now I understand and know what crystals mean. I have them all over my place and in my office and any space that I have. I've learned through somatic breathwork and hypnotherapy that our body holds on to trauma as well. So that was a big awakening. It was like, okay, I feel like I processed what I've gone through, but my body was still reacting before my mind even had a moment to process it. So I had to work through each and every one of those to release it and to finally put to rest that old people-pleasing version of me, the version of me that would overgive, overshare. And I laid her to rest with love, thanking her for what she'd been through to be the person that I am today.
My goodness, Victoria, you have been through a lot of ups and downs in this first part of your life. Thank you so much for sharing about your story. We each have different ups and downs, right? We all have twists and turns, and mine might look a little different than yours. But we each have those moments where we're invited to step into our power, really. And that's what I'm hearing. The theme there is like you stepping into your power rather than allowing others to have power over you. Even starting, back when you were a teenager, having that experience. I'm curious about, you mentioned a couple of themes here that I want to touch base on. One is that you recognize that you were a supporting character in other people's stories. So, what does that mean to be a supporting character? And at what point did you start to realize that, like to actually go, wait, I'm like just supporting all these other people. Like, what brought that to your uh, awareness?
Yeah, so being a supporting character, I would relentlessly pour myself into others, but pouring from an empty cup because I didn't give myself anything. So being from a place of exhaustion and depletion, no matter what anyone asked me, I would just say yes immediately. You've got a problem, I'm there to fix it. You need help, I'm there. You just give me a call. And it didn't matter what I was going through, what season of life I was in, I would just relentlessly give myself. And it always would come to a head around my birthday because in my mind, I give to everybody all year round. So one day a year, they can give back to me. But when you people please and relentlessly give yourself to others, you attract selfish people. So they love what you do. They love that you're there for them, but they don't know how to give back. So I would always be disappointed. I would always be hurt. And my birthday would become something that was sad. And towards the end of my second marriage, dealing with all of the challenges I was dealing with, I caught myself telling a friend, I'm just a supporting character and everybody else is happily ever after. And as soon as I said it, I was like, ooh, that is how I feel. It was like almost a gut punch. It just hit me so hard. So I had been telling myself this limiting belief, but it actually made it to the surface and came out for me to be like, oh, I need to work on this.
Mm-hmm. Another theme that you shared there was that you reclaimed your voice, you found your voice again. And so I'm curious how you would describe your voice before this big process of breakthrough and healing and how you would describe your voice now.
Yes, that's a great question. So before my healing, especially if I was trying to communicate what I needed or wanted, I'd be like, I think I need, I might want, possibly. I wouldn't ever use action words. It was always like, well, let me gauge what I'm feeling to your reaction and then I'll decide. But after I fully stepped in my power and took my voice back, I have authority within my voice. I trust the knowledge that I have within and know it is the truth. I speak in ways that are more affirmative. I am, this is happening, those more action, it's already happened type of mentality instead of I think or maybe it could be.
Mm-hmm. Did you find early on in that shift of reclaiming your voice that I'm just imagining this, this may not have been your experience, but I'm imagining that it would be easy to kind of be pretty intense at moments to like, because you're trying to find your voice. So it's like aggressive or direct. And then it's like, okay, well, maybe I don't need to be that direct. But like, did you find that to be the case?
Oh, absolutely. Especially when it came to boundaries, because I was so new to it. I felt like I needed to vocalize my boundaries with everyone in my life, which did not go well. People do not like you to tell them boundaries. But specifically, I had a group of girlfriends that had been in my life for about 15 years. And I'd always kind of called them my fair weather friends, my good time friends. But there were a few core women in that group that we really leaned on each other in some hard times. And it came to a head around my birthday. Yet again, I was turning 40. I decided to celebrate and throw a big party for myself. And it was a big deal. I mean, it had been 2 years since my divorce. I wanted to do something to celebrate me. A lot of women around my age are celebrating kids, 15 years of marriage, whatever else. I was like, my life hasn't looked like everybody else's, but it still deserves to be celebrated. Well, one of the girls in the group decided to have a baby shower on the same day as my party and took the invite to announce that she was going to have her baby shower and send invites. And it hit me. I felt like it was very rude. There had been things in the past where she had tried to schedule things during events that I had created. So it brought up some feelings. And I went to her directly and I let her know that I deleted the comment. I felt that it wasn't the right place to announce her baby shower. I'm very excited to celebrate. And it ended up spinning into something huge where we got very ugly with each other and a lot of animosity came up. And I thought we just ended it like, you know what? We're not like-minded. I wish you all the best in life and I'll go my separate way. Well, one of the other girls called me and was attacking me for what had transpired between me and the other person. And it had nothing to do with her. And I was beyond blown away. And this was one of the girls that had helped me through some hard times. And by the end of it, God really showed me that these women weren't true friends and they were no longer on the same vibration as I was. And they no longer served a purpose in my life and made it very clear that it was time for me to walk away and move on to be around more like-minded people.
One of the things that you said early on in our conversation is that you didn't trust yourself or couldn't trust yourself anymore. And I'm curious, I don't use that type of language. I don't think about that in that way. So I'm so curious about what that means to you. Like, what does it mean to trust yourself? And how do you cultivate that when you haven't had that before?
It starts with creating safety in the body. You have to teach yourself, your nervous system, that you're safe. You're no longer in survival. You no longer have to force your way through life, but it is safe to be at peace and to
And so
rest.
when you're not trusting yourself, what are the results of that? Like, what does that look like or feel like?
So because everyone has that instinct, that intuition, that gut feeling, you ignore it completely. So say those red waves are flagging like, no, don't do this. It's bad for you. You get those fight or flight feelings, those even feelings of butterflies. Um, and you just ignore it all and you
Mm,
take somebody else's guidance.
okay.
So anytime I had a problem, instead of looking at my problem, journaling on it, praying on it, trying to figure out what I needed to learn from this and grow from
Mhm.
this, I would go to everyone else and be like, this is what I'm dealing with. What should I do?
Mm,
And then I would take all of their answers and then figure out what to do for myself.
mhm. Thank you so much for explaining that. That's so clear. Yeah, I see how that works. Um, At what point after that experience with that healer on the edge of the water there, at what point did you begin to take action? Because obviously, so many of our stories are like yours. We've gone through a painful experience and then we're like, man, I want to help other people, through this as well. And so many of us, walk that path. What did that path look like for you as you were healing? How did you then begin to develop expertise in these different modalities that you now are able to offer? How did that unfold for you?
So that sound bowl healing was the catalyst for my journey. And that really started it. I dived deep into morning rituals and learned along the way that, you can overcomplicate your morning rituals and make it to a point where you're taking 3 to 4 hours in the morning to try to get it done. And that's impossible. So learning what it meant to have a morning ritual, to honor myself, to honor God, to just slow down and have those beautiful divine moments. Um, there's also journaling and really reflecting and diving deep into my journey and what I have been through, and processing that and identifying those old beliefs and then changing those and shifting those to having a more powerful story. Um, I continue to work with that healer. And we went through a whole chakra series of clearing out all of my chakras. And as we did it, I physically, emotionally, and soulfully had a reaction to every single chakra. The sacral was the biggest one for me. While we were working through that, I got to a point where I felt at first I was fasting, where I could only really drink bone broth, maybe Jello if I was lucky. Um, and it ended up becoming debilitating GI issues. I ended up going through 5 infections in my gut, a hospitalization, lots of different tests, just to be told I'm a medical anomaly. And in that moment, I realized it was very disheartening at first, but then I walked away and was like, because this was a spiritual thing, I had to fully release from my body all the pain, all the trauma, all the past lived experiences, so I could step into the person that God created me to be.
Mm. And so as you began to do that, at what point did you kind of make that shift of, all right, I am ready to start helping other people. I'm ready to start offering my own coaching services to other individuals.
It actually happened in that moment. God told me during the sound bowl healing that I went through all of the hardships that I went through to inspire other women of hope, of peace, that their past doesn't define them and they can take control of their life right now and create the life that they've always dreamed they wanted, but feel like they can't obtain.
So as you're going through this healing process, at what point did you feel like, okay, I'm ready to now start helping other individuals by actually, starting a coaching business, so to speak?
Yes. So it started with wanting to provide the right foundation for my clients. So I went to a coaching school. It's the Health Coach Institute for life and health coaching. And from there, I felt like I was scratching the surface still and could help change some lives, but I wanted to really impact my clients' mind, body, and soul, just like the experience that I had had. So from there, I enrolled myself in a somatic breathwork and hypnotherapy and Reiki school, and worked on learning how to release the trauma from the body. And during this, I also wanted to create a presence. So I created GurrL Power Coaching, which is a play off my name. Uh, it's Gurr with an L. Just to kind of like that visceral, like, yes, you do have that power within also. And created social media to start educating and bringing awareness to women. Because a lot of women don't even realize that they are in an unhealthy dynamic or that they're being abused in some sort of way. And abuse is more than just physical. And I also have a vision, and this came around the same time of coaching women and helping shape their lives, to create a safe haven, not just a shelter for women to go, but an actual rehabilitation center for them to not only learn how to heal their mind, their body, and their soul, but to learn career coaching skills, to learn how to write a resume, to interview, self-defense, that no matter what they're thrown at them, that they can overcome it and that they're ready for it. Throw any challenge, and I'm going to not only take it head on, but I'm going to come out a bigger, better person for it.
Is that something you're looking to develop as like a physical location there in like North Carolina?
Yes, I'm hoping to do it near Asheville, North Carolina. Our mountains are absolutely beautiful. It's a more of a high vibrational place and it's very healing. So that's where I plan to open it. And the goal is in about 2 years to get that opened, get our doors open and start really helping women and their families. Their families will also be welcome to join them.
One of the things that I hear you talk about with Girl Power Coaching is helping women recognize if they are in an unhealthy relationship. And you use language in the beginning. We're talking about one of your husbands was more of an overt narcissist and the other one was more covert. What's the difference there? Maybe, and how do I even know if I'm with someone who maybe may or may not be a narcissist, but this is an unhealthy situation?
Yeah, so there are so many forms of narcissist. I mean, there are a lot of talks out there, whether there's like the 7 core, the 14 core, whatever else. But in my experience, I went from, a covert narcissist to somebody that is very confident in themselves. They have an exaggerated sense of self. They have this constant need for admiration. They believe that they're very special and unique, that other people, places of authority should be in their circles because of how grand they are. They exploit others for their benefit. They lack empathy. There's this arrogance of self entitlement, almost like a grandiose type. They usually have a big circle of influence. They use exploitive behavior. And you can just tell they kind of exude confidence, kind of those people that seem to they feel like they're mightier than God kind of thing. Where a covert narcissist tends to be defensive, passive aggressive. They tend to belittle themselves in hopes that you will lift them up and give them praise. So it's almost like the complete opposite. They'll behave modestly in order for you to worship them. They struggle with emotional bonds because they lack that empathy, and they'll use emotional withdrawal when you aren't behaving the way they expect you to behave.
Okay. So if I am a woman who I'm asking the question, like, geez, I don't think I'm in an emotionally, like unhealthy relationship. Like, what are some warning signs? What are some things that I should just be aware of that might raise my awareness of this?
Yes, that's an excellent question. It starts with how they talk to you. Do you feel like you're lifted up and you're really seen and heard, or are you belittled, told things that aren't true about yourself, and made to feel small or weak? Or maybe you feel like you're walking on eggshells. That's a really good place to start. If all of your interactions throughout the day are great, except for that one person, and they destroy your day, it's also a really good sign that that's not a healthy relationship. If there's any kind of lies going on between the two, if someone is deceitfully telling you things in order to get their way, that's also another sign. People use manipulation and words to get you under their control. They don't like any of your friends. They don't really like your family. They're starting to isolate you from everyone around you. It's a huge sign that this isn't healthy. That's all way of control. And it's really just how you feel. Check in with yourself. If you're going throughout your day and you're worried or nervous about the time that you're going to interact with that person, maybe it's time to shift the dynamic and take control back, because there is something going on and you deserve more.
hmm What does that look like to shift the dynamic? If I'm going, okay, yeah, you're right, Victoria. I do feel nervous, anxious, walking on eggshells. I don't even know what to do. I mean, I'm walking on eggshells, so I don't want to do anything. Like what's the first step?
The first step is pouring love into yourself. You can't control what somebody else does, but you can control how it affects you. So being able to pour all the love that you need within, so that way, when somebody comes at you in this manner, you're like, okay, this is something to do with you. This has nothing to do with me. So I'm just going to stay cool, calm, and collected. And it's really hard sometimes because when you're dealing with people like that, they can get loud, they can get angry, they can get volatile. But if you say, I'm sorry you feel that way, that's not the truth, and keep calm and really just keep repeating that sentence over and over again, they eventually will break. They'll be like, you know what? She's not giving me the reaction I want. I can't build off this and make this a big deal and then make her feel bad because she's not reacting. So taking the space to be calm no matter what is thrown at you. And then really journaling, identifying what you need out of your relationship. And then in a loving way, go to that person and ask them, I love you. I want our relationship to work. In order to do so, I need this from you. And it could be something very small. Maybe it's you need more time together. Engage it on their reaction. If their reaction is volatile, if they start making you feel bad, maybe it's time to start looking at other options. If they're willing to do the work, if they're willing to grow with you, go to therapy, then absolutely. You're just in a place where you're not knowing how to communicate with each other. Doesn't necessarily mean it's a toxic relationship.
hmm
But it's identifying the difference between the two. And it does help to come to someone to talk about it.
Yeah, I think that was exactly what I was going to say is like oftentimes I feel like it requires outside eyes because I'm so locked into this situation, I can't see it objectively. So I think, getting that support, getting that coaching from someone like yourself is just imperative. One of the things that you talked about was putting yourself first. I was watching one of your videos. You talked about asking the question, what's the difference between putting yourself first and putting yourself as a priority? And I'd love for you to share that with us. What's the difference? And then also, how do I put myself first and not feel guilty or selfish in the process? So, what's the difference between being a priority and putting myself first?
So being a priority, you have like your list of to-dos and you're on the list. I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to journal. I'm going to meditate. But then life happens. So things get thrown in the mix. Your kid needs to go to the doctor. Work needs this. And all of a sudden, that moments of journaling and meditation are now way down on the list. And you didn't get to it that day. But when you put yourself first, you are honoring what you need each and every day. You wake up and ask, what do I need? What does my body need? And then honor what your best looks like. Your best is not always going to look the same. Some days you're going to wake up on top of the world and tackle everything on your to-do list. And then there's other days where you can barely get out of bed and shower, and that's success. It's celebrating wherever you are in your journey and knowing that if I honor myself and I give myself what I need, I'm going to also be able to give to others because I have a full cup.
You have shared that you felt like you were a supporting character in other people's stories. And I know I've seen you write and say you're the author of your own story, right? Trying to challenge women or encourage women, inspire them. You're the author of your own story. Speak to that for a few moments. What does it mean to be the author of your own story? What does it look like? What does it feel like?
Yeah. So the biggest thing to take away is that you have control. You have control over your life, how your day unfolds. Your past doesn't define you. It's acknowledging where you've been without letting it decide where you're going. Your inner voice is your compass, not your fears, not your past, not the patterns you inherited from others, but choosing meaning over your experiences and then looking for the positive in it, what you learned, what you grew from. Every small decision, every boundary, every moment of honesty, it builds the next chapter. And for my clients, what I like to do is I take them through something what I call story, which is, and it's a little acronym: sensation, where is it in the body? Trigger, what pattern does it repeat? Origin, when did this belief begin? Reason, what fear is this trying to protect? And your truth, what replaces that limiting belief so you can step into your power?
Very powerful. So when you walk them through that story process, is that in like one session, multiple sessions? How do you help them do that?
It really depends on the person and where they are. They have to be the one to reach that aha moment and to understand. So some women, they'll understand and work through it in one session. Some may need a few. Some we really need to dive deep into those limiting beliefs. So it may take, 12 plus sessions in order to really dive in. It just really depends on each and every person.
What are some of those limiting beliefs, those stories that the women that you work with what are the most common limiting beliefs that they're coming to you with?
That I'm stuck in my current situation. It's my fault for where I am, that I deserve what I'm going through. That I've invested too much time. I can't start over. That's a really big one. That's one I actually told myself. Um, I put too much time and effort into it. I'm getting older. Who's going to love me after this?
Yeah. And so when someone comes to you and you hear them, you obviously you're picking up on these stories like super quick. How do you help them? You talked about the story process. How do you offer them like solutions? Like, do you say, okay, I've got a one-on-one program? Is it just week to week? Like, what does that look like in terms of the container that you're offering them?
Yeah, so my one-on-one coaching is very customizable. It depends on the person. No person is the same. That's why I feel like no coaching program should be cookie cutter. So it depends. It depends on your availability, your commitment level. I do usually try to start out with a 90-day program where we meet once a week for 12 weeks, just to really embody, to have the guidance and that consistency, because it takes at least 90 days for something to become a habit. So I want us to work together for at least that first 90 days to create habits. I also have Girl Power Hour that's launching in January. And that is a container for more of a group type setting. But this is for women to be seen, to be heard, to be celebrated, and to work through challenges in real time. There's so many of us that feel alone, to feel isolated. Many of us work from home. I want to create a space where women can come and they can bring whatever they want to the table free of judgment. We tend to even push past our accomplishments, like, oh, that's done, check, let's move on to the next. But when you take the time to celebrate it, you embody it, you learn from it, you create more momentum because you took the time to acknowledge how you got here.
So, what does that look like in terms of the Girl Power Hour? Is it specific meeting days and times, online program? Like, help me understand it more.
Yeah, so Girl Power Hour, we'll be meeting twice a month, Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it's a free forum for all women to come on. I do have questions that they can submit to me the day before if they have any topics that they really want to go over. And then we talk as a whole group, and then we'll go into breakout groups, just to really make sure that every single person in there has the time to share what they want to share and to work through what they'd like to work through.
And that launches January 2026.
Yes, that's correct.
Awesome.
New year, new me.
Yeah. What's the best place for people to connect with you in terms of your website, to book a session, to check out the Girl Power Hour? Tell us all about it.
Yes. So girlpowercoaching.com is a great place to start. You'll find all the information about Girl Power Hour, my coaching program. There's also Calendly links you can schedule. And I'm also on social media. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook at Girl Power Coaching. And that's a great way to get engaged. I have a Girl Power group on Facebook as well, where women come and celebrate each other. I'm fairly accessible. So through social media or my website, whatever.
Yeah. And of course, we'll link to all of those in the show notes and the website. I do want to give you a moment, though, to speak to that woman who's listening right now, who's feeling maybe some of those feelings that you were talking about, like, geez, I do walk on eggshells, or I'm exhausted, or I'm trying to figure out my next step in life. What encouragement would you give to her today?
That you're not stuck and you're not broken. You have all the power within. And once you unleash that warrior, life starts to change. You can take control of your life, create the narrative that you want, create the life that you desire. And it starts with putting yourself first. Just like God says in Isaiah 48:18 through 19, forget the former things. See, I'm doing a new thing. It springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland. No matter how bleak your situation feels, no matter how stuck you feel, you have what it takes within to make that next step to change your life. And I'm right here to help walk beside you.
Thank you so much, Victoria. So happy for where you're at in life, and so thankful for how you're helping other people navigate those seasons of reclaiming their voice, stepping into their power, healing their hearts and minds, and just appreciate all the work you're doing. So thank you so much.
Thank you. It truly is an honor.